Alright, so today I want to take a look at one more ball python hatchling that's in my egg incubator. As a matter of fact, we actually went through the whole box of hatchlings this the other day and put them up in the hatchling rack. Got a really close look at them, got some really amazing results. And then we actually went through and gave them all names. I actually got all the names from my comments section. People have been recommending names, and essentially what I did is I put all the names in a jar, and we've been pulling out the names, naming each hatchling as they go in the hatchling rack, which is pretty awesome. And there was just one hatchling that was still stuck in the egg that, you know, I really don't like to take the hatchlings out of the egg by myself. Pretty much what I do is right before they hatch, I cut them open and kind of peek and see what I got as far as the genetics and the combinations. And then usually what I do is I let them come out on their own, unless there's like some problems with that hatchling and you have to kind of intervene. But most of the times I just let them come out on their own. As a matter of fact, I peeked in that box and it looks like that last hatchling came all the way out of the egg, so we can take a closer look at it, give it a name, put it up in the hatchling rack, which would be pretty cool. And then I kind of want to give you a quick update on my ducks and my chickens. There's been a few people that say, hey, can you give us an update on the ducks? As a matter of fact, I actually just expanded my area that I keep my ducks and chicken in. It's pretty awesome expansion that I gave them almost more than twice the area that I had. I have so many ducks and chickens. It's pretty amazing. You'll kind of freak out at how many birds I have. It's getting kind of crazy out there. So I'm going to jump over and pull this ball python hatchling out of the incubator, and let's take a closer look. Alright, so let's take a look at this last ball python hatchling. Pretty exciting. So this was actually a cross of my bamboo calico crossed to a pastel pinstripe. So there's 4 different genes that could actually be in here. And just looking at it from first glance, it's pretty obvious what this is. Here is the goopy egg left over. And you can definitely tell if you're used to ball python genetics, it's definitely not a bamboo, because the bamboo kind of washes out all the color, gives it kind of a silvery gray color. The pastel, I don't think there's pastel, because the pastel usually brings on a lot of yellow. And then the pinstripe usually gives it like a metallic kind of a look with a big stripe right down the back. So there's pretty much only one gene left, and that is the calico. I definitely think there's calico in this one. You can definitely see the sides are really opened up. All the pattern from the calico makes a really amazing, I absolutely love the calico. It's funny, I actually just kind of randomly bought a calico. I started breeding in a bunch of stuff, and it seems like the more calico stuff I see, the more awesome it really is. And this one, you can see it kind of has this kind of an extended, almost like a big belly right here. And you know, I used to be worried about that at the very beginning. You kind of see that in a lot of hatchlings where it has kind of a fat belly right in here. And I think what that is that's like the leftover yolk that is inside the hatchling that's still kind of, you know, absorbing the nutrients inside of there. And that, you know, I've never had a problem with anything as far as kind of a swollen belly with hatchlings. As a matter of fact, in my very first year when I was hatching out snakes, I was like, oh no, my ball python is swollen, there's something wrong with it. And come to find out, that is pretty normal with a lot of hatchling ball pythons, and it definitely goes away, no problems at all. And sometimes you'll get some issues with like the umbilical cord or anything, but you can definitely tell in this one it's all absorbed and everything. Looking really good, really big hatchling. I'd say usually in most cases they really don't have that swollen belly. I've had maybe 20% of all my hatchlings are kind of swollen in the back, and it's usually no problem. And this one's also possible het desert ghost. So you can definitely tell, well, you can't really tell the desert ghost on this one, you can just tell the calico. And usually if you actually look at the belly on some of these, the belly is completely wiped out. That is pretty wild. Look at the belly on this one. It's pretty amazing how wiped out the belly is from just the addition of calico. I haven't produced a whole lot of calico stuff, but it looks like it pretty much wipes out all the belly pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a name out of my jar. I put a bunch of names in my little mason jar here, and we'll pull one out, see if we can give this cute little guy a name. And this one, that's a good name. This guy's new name is Octane. So I've been actually putting labels on these, and I've been tracking the clutch number and everything, all the genetics and everything. The clutch number, I think, is probably the most important, so you can kind of remember the breeding if someone comes back and has any questions. So essentially what it is I put the name, Octane CO420, the 4th clutch of 2020. This is a Calico, possible het Desert Ghost. And you know, my very first clutches, I didn't actually include the clutch number and the year, and sometimes it can get really confusing, especially since I figured out that, you know, some of my snakes are now het Desert Ghost, which means that some of the others are possible het Desert Ghost, and it kind of goes all through your collection. And a lot of people come back and say, hey, I have, you know, if you actually know the clutch number is C0420 and you keep track of all the breeding and on the parents and everything, you can actually figure out exactly, especially if things change like 5 years down the road, you definitely want to go back in your records and maybe even go back to the people you sold the snakes to and then tell them, hey, by the way, this is possible het Desert Ghost, which is a possibility. Sometimes you never know what hets are kind of floating around until you prove them out. All right, so here is my setup for my hatchling rack. I actually have an ARS 1039 hybrid, which is, as a matter of fact, the ARS racks actually went to kind of a hybrid system. And a lot of people have asked me about my racks, and let me tell you, the ARS is pretty much the top of the line. People are like, oh yeah, I want to get an ARS rack, and then they see the prices and they're like, oh, maybe I'll build my own or something, because they can be pretty pricey. The thing I like about the ARS racks is in most cases, you can buy just a few levels, and you can buy actually just one level at a time and kind of get into it, you know, just a little bit. That's what I did, and I kind of built up slowly over the years. And the kind of the cool thing about that is you can actually produce some hatchlings and then sell the hatchlings to buy more levels, and then you pretty much get to the point where I am, where the whole room is full of ARS racks and your hands are full with all these snakes. It's pretty awesome. So essentially what it is this is like a hatchling rack, and then I put the hatchling right back here on a hotspot. The ARS racks have a built-in heat strip that I put on a thermostat and set to 90 degrees. And then I use a Pro Coco coconut husk. You can use any kind of coconut husk. There's a whole bunch of different coconut husks you can use. And then I actually used just water in like a disposable deli cup here, which is pretty awesome. As a matter of fact, I really like these because they're a little bit wider than some of the other racks, and that you can get a pretty big, you know, hatchling to actually still fit in here, versus I've seen some where, you know, the racks are really small, and those are really designed for, you know, kind of growing them up just a little bit and then selling them really fast. You can get a lot more hatchlings in a smaller space, but if you want to grow them up a little bit more, I would probably suggest getting a little bit bigger of a tub like this. There's a whole bunch of tubs, and you can make your own tubs. Some people use like a Tupperware kind of a tub. I've seen a lot of people do that, but take a look at this hatchling. That is pretty awesome. And essentially what I do is I put them in the tub until I actually don't feed them until they shed out. As a matter of fact, if you actually try to feed them before they shed, it's almost impossible to get them to eat. So I wait until they shed out, and then usually maybe give them another few days or maybe a week before you feed them the first time. And the very first meal I use is a live mouse hopper. That's pretty much the only thing that I found that they will reliably take. And then I go from live mouse hoppers, I probably do like 5 or 6, and then transition over to, like, you can do like a frozen thawed mouse. Eventually you want to get them on frozen thawed rats. That is the big thing, because sometimes they can get stuck on mice. But mice, you know, it's kind of difficult, because unless you breed your own mice, you can pretty much break the bank feeding, you know, live mouse hoppers that you buy at the pet store. It can be kind of crazy. All right, so there you have it. That's a pretty awesome little calico coming right out of the incubator. As a matter of fact, I actually have one more clutch of ball python eggs in my incubator with 8 eggs. And if those all hatch, I'm pretty sure they all will. They're looking really good. I'll probably end up with about 32 hatchlings this year, which is pretty awesome. And I have one more ball python that might lay late in the season. It's my female pied. We actually did an ultrasound about 2 weeks ago, I think it was. We actually saw some eggs that were maybe about 32 millimeters. And usually about 45 millimeters they lay eggs. As a matter of fact, her last shed about a week ago, I think that was the pre-lay shed. So I'm thinking maybe in about 2 weeks she may lay a clutch of eggs. And with that female pied, I actually bred my fire pied to that regular pied female. So I should get half pieds and half fire pieds, which would be pretty awesome. So I'm going to leave you with an update on my chickens and my ducks in the barnyard. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. All right, so it is morning feeding time for all these birds. Look at all these birds. I got so many chickens and ducks and a whole bunch of birds. Tons and tons of birds. And I happen to have some iceberg lettuce. It is feeding time. Look at all these birds. Crazy birds. That is a whole bunch of birds. Take a look at all those. I have some black Australorp chickens, some Cayuga ducks, some Pekin ducks, and some Muscovies. Whole big flock right here. And check this out. I wanted to give you an update on kind of the expansion that I expanded. So essentially I had them in here. I lock them up in here at night in this bear-proof chicken coop. This has been working really good. I got some heat lamps and I put the food in here so none of the pests like the squirrels will actually get the food. And then they have this little kind of walk around area here, and this has been getting so cramped because there hasn't been really enough room. So originally I actually had this little, like a little barrier, a little divider that went right here. And then I kind of had it around the back side so they can kind of go all the way around the chicken coop. But take a look at this expansion. This is really awesome. So I actually opened this up and actually take a look at this. I have a little, like a tunnel back here. It's actually, take a look at the overhang here. They can kind of hang back here and keep away from the hawks and all the aerial predators, which is really cool. A lot of times they'll usually hang out back here. I just opened this up in the last couple days, and a lot of times they'll hang out right here. Take a look at this. This is kind of the little opening. And essentially what I've been doing is I've been taking my watermelon rinds and I've been putting them right here. They absolutely love the leftover watermelon and apples and anything else that I kind of have left over in the kitchen. And then take a look at this. I really expanded the area over here. You can come all the way back over here. And so what I did is I put up a double fence using this inside fence. I used a bunch of scrap kind of from my junk pile in the back. I had some old chicken wire here, and then I had this like really super heavy duty chicken wire, and then I had some T-posts. And then what I did is I put some horse panel up here with T-posts to kind of keep the cows away from the fence here. And had a bunch of junk in here that I threw over the fence. I still need all that back to the junk pile. Some old feeders and a composter. And a lot of this over here, this is actually a horse fence and then like a snow fence. And I just pretty much used whatever I had. And then this, I used to use this little structure as like a brooder for my chickens and ducks. And I just kind of threw it together real quick. A few years ago, I actually had an owl get in here and killed all my ducks once, and I kind of gave up on it. Now I'm thinking about maybe I can beef it up and totally enclose it and maybe use it for the chickens at night. Well, look at these guys. These guys go back and forth. They're loving all this extra room. Pretty awesome.